Well, joining me now is Jamie Weinstein, senior editor for the Daily Caller. Last time I checked, we constituted this democracy to elect officials to make decisions for us, not to vote on military action, right?
Right. I just think this is entirely bizarre. I personally am a little bit skeptical about military intervention in Syria, but if you believe that this is necessary to enforce international norms, why didn't the president seek authorization from Congress before he set out his red line? Why didn't he seek authorization after the first chemical attack? Why didn't he seek authorization 10 days ago, call Congress back into session? Why didn't he call Congress back into session today? It seems to me that he's punting the ball down the road because he doesn't want to actually take a decision on this.
Well, he said, I made a decision to use military force, but then I made a second decision to consult with Congress. I mean, look, his critics, Jamie, are going to say the guy weaseled out of making a hard decision because he knows that Congress will say no. And so what message does that send to others in the world about America's determination to be firm, especially people in the Hezbollahs of the world, Al-Qaeda, not to mention Iran?
It shows tremendous weakness. Look, back in 2002, President Bush, in October 2002, sought and got authorization to use the U.S. military to enforce our national security interests in Iraq. He didn't use that until 5 months later, in March 2003. But he was able to use, because he got that authorization, his authority on the world stage to act in America's interests. President Obama set out a red line saying, if you do this, we will do that, and now is saying that, well, I didn't actually have the power to do that, or if I did have the power, I still now think Congress should do it. He should have sought authorization before setting out a red line.
So are you
so
saying,
he could act?
I mean, is there a sentiment there that he made a foolish decision back, and, you know, his aides say they were shocked and stunned that the president stood up there and said, oh, you know, it's a red line, it's a line in the sand. Was that a foolish decision that now he is trying to sort of weasel his way out? Is that what his critics, where you are in Washington, will accuse him of?
I think so. There's no question that if you set a red line, you should have at least some enforcement mechanism. Now it just seems like he's punting. I mean, look at all the leaks that came out from the White House and the Pentagon this last week. It seemed like force was imminent. And then all of a sudden, he decides that you have to go to Congress. Well, he didn't think he had to go to Congress for the Libya authorization, which was, you know, in many ways, many believe going to be was a much more expansive operation than he's seeking in Syria. But all of a sudden now he wants to uphold the Constitution after before he delayed Obamacare. You know, he had unilateral decisions with immigration. But all of a sudden with this issue, now he's decided that congressional authorization is necessary. It seems pretty convenient.
What happened in the last 24 hours? I mean, I was in the anchor chair yesterday when John Kerry was, you know, making this forceful argument for military action, and now all of a sudden the president is saying, yeah, not going to do it. What happened in 24 hours?
You know, that's the story that I think we all want to read in a long-form piece that I'm sure is going to come out at some point. But the amazing part of this is that he's not even calling Congress back into session before they come back September 9th. He didn't make it a bold statement that Congress should come back and debate this so we can get authorization, a yes or no vote immediately. He said, we'll get it when Congress comes back, and then he went off to golf with Joe Biden.
Right.
I mean, this seems like an astonishing display of nonchalance on an issue of war and peace.
Yeah.
It really is, as Charles Krauthammer said earlier, amateur hour at the White House when it comes to foreign policy.
Well, and of course there was an entire book entitled The Amateur about the president. But look, green light for Iran. I mean, do our allies in the region now have to be seriously concerned about American convictions?
I think they absolutely have to be concerned. There was reports that Saudi Arabia was going to Russia to seek their interests. They're moving away from the American orbit. They can't trust America to act when they say something is necessary. I do think they see American weakness. You remember Hillary Clinton said she wondered during the 2008 campaign whether President Obama could handle a 3 a.m. call. Now I think there's a question whether he can handle a 3 p.m. call. This was not something that came upon him in the middle of the night. He knew about this red line since he issued it back in August, and he hasn't sought to get authorization since then, back in August 2012.
Right.
And he hasn't sought to get authorization since then. It just seemed that he is just playing it, winging this foreign policy thing that he's handling right now.
Well, last time I played golf, they had phones on the golf course on every hole. It's called a little cell phone.
Yeah.
And the president apparently turns his off. All right, Jamie Weinstein, good to see you, Jamie. Thanks very much. Heather?
Good to see you, too.